Good evening, everyone. Uh, it is so much of a pleasure to join in each of you today on the Village Radio Talk Show, um, where we're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us to realize our dreams at any age, at any point, starting from today, where success is not just spoken, it is done. The question is, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing to be successful? So um, it's my pleasure and journeying today to enjoy a nice Thursday afternoon with each and every one of you. Um, it is indeed so much of a pleasure to be with you, enjoy our time together, right? Enjoy our time together and have conversations around what is important to you, to me, to all of us. Um, I'm going to start off today with you guys going to make me talk a lot today, right? Because as you can see, I'm by myself for now. Uh, my co-host and all will be joining me in a little bit, right? So you can always call in on our Google Voice number, right? You can always call in on our Google Voice number, and that number is 347-746-6598. Again, that's 347-746-6598, right? And we could talk about whatever you want to talk about. So congestion pricing started, right? Congestion pricing started, and people are in arms, right? People are in arms about the congestion pricing because ultimately congestion pricing is um, affecting everyone, right? Everyone around congestion pricing because think about it, right? Think about it. Who, right? Who has to pay this money, right? 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 Who has to pay this money to go to Manhattan? Right? Who has to pay this money to go to Manhattan? Who has to pay this money to go through Jersey? Right? And it's very. One of my friends, John Wick, his nickname, is writing an op-ed to remove Kathy Hochul from office. Right? Remove her from office um, because ultimately, right? Ultimately, she signed off on the bill, right? That made congestion pricing uh, a reality, right? I'm having some soup, making sure I'm good. That made congestion pricing a reality for New Yorkers, right? Here's the problem. I have a couple of questions with that. One, why did you do it right before Donald Trump took office, right? Why did you do it before Donald Trump take office? And here's what I believe. I believe she did it before Donald Trump took office because she knew that Donald Trump would not have signed off on it, right? She knew that. Like, the Republican Party is not going to sign off on. It's not going to sign off on something like um, something like congestion pricing, right? Congestion pricing is again a regressive tax on many of our New Yorkers, right? Is a tax. So because he knows, she knows, right? She knows that like that individuals, right? Knows that individuals who travel to Manhattan, or they know MTA knows, that individuals who travel into Manhattan, they're going to stay that way, right? John, you're slightly out of the camera. There you go, right there. There you are. And so I what I observe is that you still have rush hour traffic, right? You still have it. People are still paying this incredible sum of money, and it's daily, right? So if you don't have Easy Pass, it's 30 something dollars a day, right? It's 30 something dollars a week. Hey, John, welcome to the village. Thank you for joining us today. Our co-host John Sampson is here. Um, getting ready. I just got started, John, and the first topic I want to talk about is the congestion pricing and how one of
Can't
my
hear you,
friends,
brother. Can you hear me?
John, yes,
I can't hear you. Oh, what's going on, man?
I don't know, but I could hear you loud and clear. I can hear you. You can't hear me still, right? I, uh, John, John, I hear
Can't
you.
hear you, brother.
You can't hear me?
Can you hear me? But I can't hear you.
Log out and come back in. Can you hear me? All right. So she just so John Wick wrote this op-ed, right? Here's what he wrote. Let me tell you what he wrote. Hold on. John, let me tell you what he wrote. All right. So what he wrote was, I have 5 words for congestion pricing. So this is his message right here. This is his message. Say no to this wicked witch of New York City. Well, it probably will be New York State. And I don't know if you can see it, but that's what he wrote. Right? Can you hear me?
See an interesting context here.
John.
A relatively small
Yeah, brother.
co-education.
All right. Turn off the noise in your background.
Independent school
Huh?
in Texas.
Turn off the radio in your background or the TV.
I'm going to assume about 100
I can't hear for nothing, man. What the hell's going on with this thing?
Turn off the radio in the background.
Jimmy's rank within that class.
Turn off the what?
See,
The radio in the background.
Jimmy's grade. You see what starts out in 9th grade with a
Right.
mix of B's and C's.
Turn it off, John.
Into 10th
So,
grade with a 1
anyway,
A minus the period.
he wrote this op-ed right here. He wrote this op-ed, as you can see, and it's like the wicked witch, right? The wicked witch. That's what he wrote. And he's like, I have 5 words for congestion pricing. Hochul must be voted out.
Can I hear? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Talk.
Right? Can you hear me?
Very faint, man. I can't.
Yeah, you had this problem before. How did you fix it? Right? Let me I just All right. Yeah, what I was saying was that I'm going to put you. Said you can't hear me, so I'm going to leave the phone on with you on it, and then you could talk because I can hear you. All right. All right. So one of the things that we're talking about. No, yeah, I was telling them Andre to keep his. Can you hear me, Andre?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
So I don't know why he can't hear me. I was trying to tell him to keep his phone on.
I think it's just John's phones. I mean, might have to try and do a computer or turn
Yeah.
up the volume on the phone.
And now the phone is not ringing. All right.
It's frozen. Turn up volume.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I was saying is that he was stating that we must vote her out. And I was trying to explain to him that that's not going to stop congestion pricing.
Oh, John was saying voter out.
No, not John, my friend. His name
Oh.
is John Wick. I was saying, John, to stay on the phone. I'll put you on speaker. And then don't hang up. Just go back on the ear and talk like you normally talk.
That's gonna cause the echo.
I'll put you on speaker and then you can hear. Let's see if there's an echo with it. But don't hang up the phone. Just stay logged in. Because if you can hear me, you're fine.
No.
All right.
It's likely that there's gonna be an echo, though, Roger. So
Maybe, but I don't have. We don't have another option right now. So if it is, we could try to fix it later, right? All right. All right. So I was explaining to him that Republicans, right? That Republicans are going to keep the congestion pricing. Whether they're in office or not in office, they're going to keep congestion pricing. They're not going to change it. They're not going to make it any lower. So saying to get rid of her to get a Republican in office is not going to make a difference, right? Respect. Hey, Yvette, how you doing? All right. How you doing, all of the villagers out there, right? Republicans are one of the people, they're like leeches, right? They speak out about everything, right? They speak out about everything. We as Republicans speak out against everything, but once it passes into law, we utilize it the most. For example, we speak out against welfare, but there's so many Republicans on welfare, right? When we talk about the PEPs, the PPEs, and we talk about federal grants and loans, the Republicans spoke out against it. But guess who gobbled up the money? Obamacare, another example.
Project, they always do that. You know what?
Right.
They always talk against it, but they'll be the first ones. I mean, I think it was when Biden did the Recovery Act, and then all these millions going to these states. First of all, they denied it. Oh, we don't want the money from them. We don't want the money, but they had to accept the money. You know, but if you didn't want the money, you didn't have to accept it. Send it back. Nobody sent it
Exactly.
back.
And that's what I was trying to tell him about. So I was saying, John, what you missed was one of my friends, John Wick, was writing an op-ed about leading a campaign to get rid of Kathy Hochul because of congestion pricing.
Right.
She rushed it in before Donald Trump, because had she tried to do it during Trump, when he gets inaugurated next week and a half, right? He wouldn't have passed it. But once it's passed,
what does Trump have to do with the congestion pricing to pass it? He didn't. It's not a federal government. This was enacted by the state.
Well, I believe that. Remember, there's a certain amount of monies that's going to come from federal government for MTA.
That's true.
And so that's why there was a rush to get it done.
So, but he can still do the same thing now. He can withhold some of the monies that the federal government gives to the state.
But
he can still do it.
But what I'm saying is that once it's enacted, he's not going to change it. He's not going to interfere with congestion pricing.
Why wouldn't he do that?
Because the point that I'm making is that when one party goes into office and the previous party did something, the new party still uses it. Just let's give you an example. The cameras, right? I'm always talking about the cameras. The cameras was enacted by Bloomberg.
Right.
They hated the cameras. All of a sudden, cameras are now 24 hours a day, and it's owned by the Democrats. When a Republican come in, if a Republican was to come as mayor, they're not gonna remove the cameras, right? They're gonna keep it because they realize that it's a major revenue stream for the city. But I use in your words, regressive taxes, and they're not gonna move it. Right. So I'm saying to him, an op-ed about voting her out is not going to change the cameras. Maybe you should do an op-ed about removing congestion pricing, march against it, strike against it. But you know what I noticed, John? I noticed that I was coming in for my treatment this week, right? I'm here at Sloan, and I was coming in during rush hour. You know what I found out?
What?
There was a hell of a lot of traffic jam. So people are paying the money to come to the city, right? They're paying the money to come to the city. And that's why they might get away with it, because of all of the money that they're going to make, period. Right.
I've noticed, a friend of mine noticed, I was speaking to him yesterday, and he noticed that, he noticed a slight increase in the subways. And also, by driving in the city every day, unfortunately, I've seen the flow of traffic not as heavy as it used to be so far.
Right. I'm very disgusted by it.
I discussed it because it's a regressive tax.
Yeah.
It's always the working class person that always has to pay these regressive taxes. But you know what I like? What Scotto del Fresco did, the restaurant on the east side, and they said basically they're going to deduct $9 from people's meals. And that I think that's very creative with respect to just making sure that we can keep the flow of those who want to come into the city and enjoy it. Because restaurants, people are going to be hit.
Yeah,
a lot of friends of mine are worried about, how can I get around this? I'm not going to pay this $9.
And whereas I might stop at some place, now I'm going straight to the subway. And you know what? I was talking to somebody. There's a real fear about the subway, even though it's a fear. The reality is that the subway is very safe. But when you see videos like the guy lighting the guy on fire, the guy throwing the person on the train tracks, when you hear about people stabbing, you hear about these things, it builds on your fear. And one of the things I tell people is the numbers and the data might reflect that crime in the subway is less than it was 10 years ago, significantly less than it was 20 years ago. If I'm a victim of a crime, I still feel it.
Right.
So for me, the criminality of it is 100%. So I have real fears. So Andrea, how are we going to get rid of congestion pricing?
No, I mean, it's protests that could be done, but people still have to come through. So people start taking the public transportation, that might help, but also voting, speak with your votes. And I don't know, moving out of New York, something.
I think first and foremost, you have to protest your state senators and state assembly people, right? You got to protest against them. But people are not willing to do that, right? It's like, your father's doing something wrong. Your mother's doing something wrong. Not that deep, but you know this, and it's like, I don't want to. I'm still going to look out for my mother. I'm still going to look out, even though I know I didn't like what she did. And that's what happened. So a lot of these elected officials are going to remain in office because people are not strong enough to remove them from office. Kathy Hochul is going to get a second term. She's going to get it.
You know what was interesting to me too is
They're
that
off the air, John.
what's interesting to me too is that I remember when what's his name, Cuomo, everybody was really like heavy on like let's go, let's put Kathy in, and I think around the congestion pricing and just like other similar things, MT and all that, people start turning on her, and it was just so. It was interesting to see that itself. It's like I want to put you in because this guy seems to have done things that we don't like, so I want to put you in. But the minute you do anything, we're gonna kick you out. It's like, did you do enough due diligence to voter in? Like I just look at it as like how quickly the people will turn on some elected officials. I mean, did you do your due diligence?
The point that one of the issues, and I think Johnny will agree with me here, is that in order for her to leave, she has to do something egregious, real egregious.
I would not say that. You know what? It just has to look at what's going on in the state, the economy. It could be very. This tax can create enough of irony amongst people in the city because she won a lot of. It's similar to when they had the MTA tax. That the what kind of what was that? Residents from the suburbs of Long Island had to pay a tax coming into New York City,
and they shut it down. John, we have a caller. Let's go to the caller. Caller, you're live.
Yeah. How you doing, Mr. Daly?
I'm doing well. Welcome to the village. What's up?
So, I've been listening to your show, and I'm one of those people. You know who I am. I'm one of those people that believe that this congestion pricing is the most egregious thing that our governor could have done to New York City. And you stated that she's going to get another term. I really don't believe it, because the people that this congestion pricing benefits are not the people that are financially stressed or are working 2, 3, 4 jobs, and now we got to pay another $16 to get to work on time. That's what it would cost me today just to get to my doctor, $16, because I had to take the tunnel, and then I had to pay for congestion pricing, which I have an easy pass, which is $6.50, and then another $9 just to get to a doctor's appointment.
So what would
Right.
you? So Mr. Wilson, and again, welcome to the Village Radio Talk Show, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
We're talking about the congestion prices and what people are thinking. And Benev, I see your comment. So Benev, I call him our village pessimist, made this comment, Mr. Wilson. There's nothing people are going to do about it. It's only going to get worse, right? That's his comment, right? So the question becomes, you on one hand feel that she's not going to get reelected, right?
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
But again,
you gotta remember this. Wait, this affects at least 75% of New Yorkers. It does. The 25% are the folks that live in Manhattan and the rich people that don't want no traffic in the area, and that's just fact. Let me tell you how you can stop that, and I found a way around it. So technically, it would cost me $16 if I take the battery tunnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if everybody, including myself, right, decide, you know what, we'll get up a little bit early just to prove a point and take the bridge and bypass the battery tunnel. Remember now, that revenue is not going to the battery tunnel anymore. So you're diverting money because you're forced to go through congestion pricing. And the problem that I really have is that if I'm going upstate, I can go to tolls if I want to. I have to take the back end road. Here, you have no choice. It's like you do or die, and that's the problem I have. If they said,
so Mr. Wilson, hold on 1 second. Let me go to our panel. Let's go
Roger,
to
Roger, I think you know what Mr. Wilson said is, you know, they're saying that this creates additional revenue, but to just prove a point, as Mr. Wilson said, instead of let's taking the battery tunnel, let's take the Brooklyn Bridge, let's take the Manhattan Bridge. Those are free bridges. Therefore, I'm decreasing the amount of money you would have received from using the battery tunnel. I mean, you know, but the whole point is organizing people. People talk a good game, but when it comes to executing it, it doesn't materialize. Doesn't happen.
your thoughts, Dr. Bryant, on Mr. Wilson's comment. You're muted, Dr. Bryant.
I think
Good evening.
it's unfortunate. Good evening, everyone, and good evening to our listeners and everything. And sorry for being late, but I do agree with him. It is frustrating. It is. I take the battery tunnel as well, and it's making me reconsider the way that I travel into Manhattan because, like you mentioned, you get hit once, and then you're gonna get hit again. So going to Manhattan, you know, I'm gonna avoid it at all costs. Of course, I have to go because my daughter's out there, but I'm just like, So the opportunities for going out there, unless there's an emergency, I'm not going to be bothered with that. And now, I know that yesterday I was hearing that they mentioned that they were going to add another form of tax in addition to congestion pricing. So this is beyond ridiculous. Not only did they raise their tolls, not only did they raise everything, but because they can't close the gap. So in her State of a Union that's coming up in March, they're going to be implementing another set of taxes. So who are the individuals who they want to pay all of this? The working class? You know, so that, you know, for me, she could say she wants to save money, you know, help the American family, help the working family. That's garbage in my ear. Because you know what? Every time you add another layer or hey, congestion pricing or whatever, it's as though she's working for the MTA, not for the people of New York City.
Exactly.
Mr. Dolman, Andre, what's your thoughts on the topic?
I probably would agree with what Joan is saying. Working for the MTA, is she really working for the people? Because I mean, you're hearing all the complaints about the pricing. I mean, especially in the economic circumstance that we're in right now, people are definitely gonna feel more like the government or the politician not necessarily on their side. So even in this situation, it's like, are you thinking about where we are in terms of finance? So
you know how many people mentioned that they voted Democratic and they're turning and changing and refuse to vote again Democratic? They're not doing it.
Mr. Wilson said, but you know what? One of my issues, I look at certain things and I talk about it. So now you had red light camera, right? That's a little tax, right? Me personally, I don't object to red light cameras. Running the red light is very dangerous, right? The speed cameras that was only supposed to be during school zones, right?
All over,
right? Now it's 24 hours a day. Now you have the congestion pricing. They're forced. 1 second, Mr. Wilson. The issue that I'm having here is that it's almost as if you guys are, all three of you are correct. Like they work for the MTA because now you're trying to push more and more drivers to the MTA, and yet still you're saying the MTA is broke, right? And to me, and that's what I was saying.
Let me address my concern about with the red light camera, this is my biggest gripe with this whole thing, right? With the red light cameras, right? To circumvent the red light camera, you don't run the red light. You have a choice. To circumvent the speed cameras, you don't speed. You have a choice. In this matter, unless I'm going to 61st Street where my doctor is not, and I leave Brooklyn, I leave Staten Island, I leave Queens, I have no choice but to pay that $9. So the problem that I have, right? If they said, case in point, you can from 23rd Street to wherever they want to go, 61st Street, and from let's say 3rd Avenue to 8th Avenue, that's your congestion area. So if you want to keep that area clean, you don't.
You're breaking up, Mr. Wilson.
Go around saying that, well, what I call it, as you know, is called the MTA tollway. It's not no congestion, has nothing to do with congestion. I wrote an op-ed and I sent it out that the people that said, oh, it's congestion and pollution. We live in a bubble. The earth, there's a ozone layer that lets gas stay on this earth. So you move the congestion to Queens, Staten Island, it's like you're living in a balloon. That pollution is going to trickle back to Manhattan regardless. So if they just use that to brainwash us and say, oh, we're trying to make it clean air, and then they use, you know what caused the congestion, my friend? And I did a little research. Those bike lanes and the bus lanes. That's what causing the congestion.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree. Because they get rid of the lanes just to add more, the bike. And they're not even on the bike lane. They're on the main road.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I never thought of it like that. You kind of pushed the congestion and then said there's congestion. That's a very good point, Mr.
Strategic move,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and then to top it off, the speed limit important, but sometimes you behind those buses, and it's like, what are they doing? It can be a bit annoying too, especially in areas wherein it's a dense area too.
I was driving on Rogers Avenue when I was coming to the hospital. Right, I was driving on Rogers Avenue. My uncle and my friend that were in the car. The bus lane was literally empty, right? The bus lane was literally empty, and the driving lane was bumper to bumper. So it's a heightened level of frustration, right? Heightened level of frustration with what's going on. Mr. Wilson, I want to thank you for the call, right? Thank you for sharing your opinion right here on the Village Radio Talk Show.
Thank you.
Right. These are some of my issues with congestion pricing, that we are busy suffering the cost of things that is man-made. Right. You talk about people get hit. I have my cousin lost a cousin in Florida. Right, he lost a cousin in Florida because she was walking across the street and got hit by a car and died. That is how my uncle died as well. But in Florida, traffic moves. You just drive within the speed limit. You don't have the issue, right? Manhattan, people get hit by a car. These things are happening. Yes, you're right, Stickle. You're right. Right, I would, because actually they do impact a certain number. After a certain number, it impacts. It impacts your license. You have to take classes. They can tow your car, take away those things. So there are things that can and will be done based upon what is happening. But the reality is situation, right? The reality situation is this: if you want to be, I saw somebody get a ticket because they're 1 mile over the speed limit. 1 mile.
Just about you, like 10 more seconds.
So the question is, would a cop give you a ticket for going 1 mile over the speed limit? And that's a very important question. So I definitely have a problem with it. But my problem, like I told John Wick, is that the Republicans are not going to remove it when they come to office because it's a revenue stream. What do you think? Do you think if there's enough protest and people follow this as their candidate, that candidate, if they win, would change congestion pricing? What do you guys thought on that? Start with you, John.
Repeat that again, Roger.
Do you think that if the candidate, let's say John Wick is putting out there, which let me read it again. Let me read his flyer. What his flyer said. So here's his flyer, right here, right? I don't know if everybody can see it. I can send it to you, right? And the flyer basically said, "Say no to the Wicked Witch of New York City. Election 2026. Kathy Hochul, no." Right? Kathy Hochul, let me see something here. What is it? Kathy Hochul cares nothing about the struggling people for this city, and she must be voted out of office. I have 5 words for pricing, congestion pricing. Hochul must go, right? Must be voted out. November 3rd, 2026. Do you think if that carries and a candidate picks it up, would they be able to change congestion pricing? Because I looked at it like the Verrazano Bridge, the Whitestone Bridge, and all those bridges that were supposed to be lowered. All they're doing is getting higher. So your thought, John?
Exactly. No, you'll hear the noise now, but then with people that just conform to it, if you take action, that's why it's important. This happened at the local level. We have congestion pricing at the local level. It was based upon our local elected officials who voted for it.
Yeah.
They brought the bill to Hochul. Hochul signed it. So you got to look at your local. You go back to those local elected officials who voted for this. I remember when they wanted to bring it up when I was in Albany. It was killed. I remember Ingrid Lewis Martin was very vocal in making sure that that bill was killed. So I mean, it's your local politicians.
All right, fair enough. Do you think, Dr. Bryant, that if this were to happen, that elected official would be able to get it to pass? What's your thought?
Elected official would be able to what?
If somebody's running for office, the next governor is Republican, and they opted to do this, do you think that they would be able to? What's your thought? Do you agree with John that it would happen? It would probably only get worse.
Listen, the next official, the way that this is going, I don't think New York is going to stay a blue state, to be honest with you. Because I think the frustration that everybody have right now is they're going to remember this. They're going to remember their pockets. That's why, a lot of people thought about, hey, you know what? Donald Trump gave us this, even though it wasn't true, but they thought about their pockets. And when it comes to voting, people are going to remember that you didn't hear me. You didn't listen to me. Hey, you didn't care about the fact that eggs are $13, but you put this thinking congestion pricing. And then now the delivery trucks are saying, hey, they're paying the tolls. And what do the stores are saying? They have to send it off and add it, tax the people. Somebody has to pay for it. So we just continue to live in a state that is ridiculously expensive. Then it's not working. They wonder why people are leaving in drove. leaving New York State. They wonder why people are going to the South. You know, it shouldn't cost all this money to just move around. Rent is expensive, housing is expensive, you know, congestion pricing now is expensive. There's tolls everywhere you go. You know, there's other states that don't knock people over the head like that. And then when they're hearing, oh, you know, there's a flu or something like that, so the supermarket raise everything up, an unbelievable amount. So unfortunately, they're proving the point that people were complaining that Democrats are, you know, everything goes up with Democrats. It's true. It is true. I can't disagree with that. I cannot. It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate that, hey, you know what? The first female governor, and guess what? It might be the last. I'm not saying, I'm not hoping that, but guess, you know, people are going to remember this. They are going to remember that.
I agree with you. If you have any comments on congestion pricing, do call us in at 347-746-6598. Let's
You know,
talk about it. Yes.
You know what I want to add to it? Here it is, and they should be very, very mindful. When we look at California right now is, you know, all the millionaires and people who have money or whatever, many of them are homeless now. Because
Yep.
guess what? Their home went up in a smoke, you know, just like that. So you are one paycheck away from being homeless. You are one paycheck away. So now to add more burden to people who are already bursting at the seams because it's so expensive, one of the most expensive places to live, to add another frustration part because MTA do not manage their money correctly. They're finding all types of things. Who is being held accountable for the mismanagement of money? How come they're not being held accountable? Any other organization would be fined, taken to jail, you know, the whole thing. They would say, hey, they're wasting money or whatever. But no one is holding MTA accountable.
You know, congestion pricing, if you do it 5 days a week, come to work 5 days a week, it adds an additional close to $40 a week, which is $160 a month. And if you continue with the math over a 12-month period, you're looking at close to $2,000 a year just to pay tolls to come to New York City. So those things are very much problematic.
You know what's going to be funny? The sad thing is, last year they were dealing with the strike. That Broadway was affected by the strike. They didn't think about this. You know, a lot of people didn't go into the shows. They couldn't go to the shows. But this year they add congestion pricing. You didn't make up the money that, you know, was lost from revenues from the plays and restaurants and things like that. Now you add another layer. Do you think people are going to go to Broadway to go and look at shows? No, they're not going to think about that.
It's a problem, and I agree. People are trying to save money, right? People are trying to save money. John, your background has a lot of noise.
No, that's yours. That's not John's.
That is John's.
His thing is muted.
Another point along those lines, and I think we saw
Roderick, his thing is
No,
muted.
it is John.
how much contact you have with
There you go, folks. Who? It's yours.
See, look. So again, it is John because I just hung up on John because he couldn't hear. So it's in his background where the noise is coming from. See,
Andre, I'm gonna bring you back on the screen, Andre.
right.
Okay, hold on, Andre. You gotta tell me.
It has to be so because John had the thing turned on in his background. It's
Right.
on your screen, Roderick. That's
That's why.
That
That's
was
why.
you.
No.
Well,
Hold on. But
it
I'm-
is. We know it's coming from John, but it's on your thing, so it
it's
would be
on
yours.
me because John can't hear. So I called John on my phone so
we
that
we
we
know.
right. So
You're just
technically,
hilarious.
you could look at it. It's like a three-way thing. I'm the intermediary. It's
Man.
from John,
Mm.
but it's from me because I called John. Right? I don't know if that makes sense, but it's not really my background that's talking. It's actually John's background. Let's move on. Unfortunately, today, it's funny. First of all, today, which a lot of people didn't know, and I didn't know it either, that today is a state holiday, federal holiday, because of the burial of the president. All right.
Wait, what, holiday as in?
It's in a non-work day for federal workers.
Yeah.
Out of respect for the non-essential federal workers, right? It was a holiday. Today they bury the 39th president of the United States of America. I believe they're going to bury him in his in Georgia, because he said he's from Plain, Georgia. He went back to Plain, Georgia. He went back to Plain, Georgia. He went back to Plain, Georgia. And now in death, he's going back to Plain, Georgia. And not in the...
right next to his wife.
Yeah. Although I don't know if I agree with that. Right?
What?
I think he should be buried in the National Cemetery, like the presidents.
Well,
Although not all of them were.
He wanted to be buried next to his wife.
Well, it wasn't the wife I'm talking about. Well, his wife could have been buried in the National Cemetery as well. She's the wife of the president.
He wanted to be buried on a farm.
Yeah, and you're right. He wanted to bury in his hometown.
Where he came from.
Yes.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see, like, Donald Trump today at the funeral looked so disinterested?
No, I was at work, so I wasn't paying attention.
Right. He looked so disinterested in what was happening. I didn't get a chance to know if he spoke at the funeral, but the 5 living presidents were there. Vice President Kamala Harris was there as well. The 5 living presidents, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Clinton, George Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump. So they were all I know you know, but so you don't have to think about it. They were all there, and Vice President Kamala Harris were all there. He had a good send-off. He had a good send-off today. A lot of people, we talked about it last week. A lot of people did not like his presidency, but right.
Yes, he was. No, he did not speak. But here's
Eddie.
He slept through the whole.
Yeah, he did actually. He looked like this dumbfounded look on his face, like that. That's what he looked like. I don't know if his wife tapped him on the leg. Yeah. What about Greenland? Greenland might be the 52nd state.
Wait a minute. So here it is. The Prime Minister of Canada resigned this week too.
No, let's finish the Jimmy Carter, and we're gonna go right to that, right? But so kudos to him. However you look at it, you have to pay him respect as being one of only 47 people to have been president of the United States. So congratulations to him, his family, and he was the longest living president when he died at 100.
That too. And you know what? One thing I could say, he exemplified service to people.
Yes, right.
Because that's what you do. As a president, you're serving people. And to be honest, he allowed his Christian values to stand out. And because of him, so many things were implemented. They don't give enough credit due to him, but he showed an example of what it meant to really love people in spite of. He
And serve,
traveled,
right?
yes, serve.
It was a
That's
true
what, yeah,
He was-
leader. That
he
was a true leader
yeah.
because leading, you actually serve and you show example of what it should look like, and he did that. During the presidency and after.
Servant leader. James Collins wrote the book called The Servant Leader, and that's exactly what it was. You're talking about our 51st state. Talk to us. I heard that.
Not the 51st state, but I'm excited about the fact. So here it is. So the Prime Minister of Canada resigned this week, right? But he was just hanging out with Trump. What happened?
He was at the funeral. Actually, he came. He came to the ceremonies, right?
Mhm.
The ceremonies.
They had no confidence in him no more. They don't trust him.
You think that's what it was?
That's what it was. That's what they mentioned. They lost confidence in him. He's
still the prime minister.
Yeah, until they find a replacement.
Right.
But they lost confidence in him and they wanted him to step down for a while. And here it is when the United States threatened that they're going to put a tariff and things like that. Instead of dealing with the situation, you go and hang out and have dinner and chill and schmooze and all that. That's not how you solve your problem. So they're like, hey, gotta go. And I don't blame them. I would say the same too. Are you on our side or are you trying to get a new role into the presidency over there? So things to consider.
He was the 23rd prime minister of
Canada,
but he has been in office for a long time,
Yeah, but he did some grimy stuff too. He had to apologize. He has some racist streak to himself as well.
Mm-hmm. He has been in office. He has been in office for 10 years.
Well, time to go.
And so that's very, 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 very interesting. 10 years he's been in office. He's actually my age. He was born in 1971, so he's very young. So he's 53 years old, right? He's 53 years old, and to be president, head of a country for that long is an issue.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rob Alexander, and I'm the Vice Provost and University Dean at the University of Rochester.
Can you shut off your TV, please?
Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? John, can you hear us? Right. That's what I was trying to tell you. See, it's not my background.
All right. Yeah. You got that one now.
All right. So let me call him back. Who was it? John, right? I got to tell him to turn off his TV. Right. He's not a conservative, so I'm actually shocked at what has happened. John.
Yes.
All right. So you need to turn off your background, right? Because it's loud, like your TV or whatever you have on in there, TV, radio, whatever. But it's just kind of crazy. But how does Trump think that he can get Greenland, how he can get Canada and change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf
Panama Canal? He want to get everything.
President Trump?
Yeah. Right.
He's not president yet.
Which one of them you think he'll be able to accomplish?
Hey, did you hear that Supreme Court? The Supreme Court in the 5-4 decision knocked him down.
With what?
basically he wanted to see if he didn't have to get sentenced tomorrow. That's an emergency petition,
Right.
and it was a 5-4 decision. The chief judge and Coney Barrett sided with the 3 liberals and said, "You can't leapfrog like that to the Supreme Court." So tomorrow he'll be. This is the first time in history we'll have a president convicted of a felony.
Yeah. And
You know,
literally,
there's hope for everybody. Everybody. You know, he's giving hope to all. Everyone who ever want to run for president, you can do it. He is the poster child. He is the poster child that anything is possible.
I don't object to that. What I object to is the racism in America, right?
Yeah.
Because technically speaking, a black man could never get that high.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Never, not with a criminal, especially not here in New York City.
Well, he talks about, listen, he could never use the word, "We're going to get these criminals out of here," because he's a criminal too.
He will use that because he will use it. You have people who are extremely arrogant who don't believe that this is me. He has always felt that this conviction was unfair, and he wasn't really guilty of this crime. He as Ernest, just like the election of 2020, he hasn't yet said that he lost in 2020, right? He has yet to say it, right? And so the reality is he could refer to other people as criminals because
He's a criminal himself.
no, he doesn't believe that he
is
felt like it was unfair, right? But do you think, John, in reality, Ted Cruz, who has his head so far up his ass, believe that this is a great idea, right? And that he'll get it done, right? Do you believe that he can actually expect this?
Expect what?
To do it.
Speak up, Roderick, a little bit. Speak up.
Do you think that he'll be able to get any of these countries to be annexed and a commonwealth of the United States?
I don't think so, man. Overall, I don't think so.
Right.
Everybody can talk a good game, but I guess when the process starts speaking to President-elect Trump, it'll be very interesting if he's able to basically cease the war between Ukraine and Russia,
Right.
and deal with the migrant crisis. A lot of people would think he might be known as the president that handles difficult situations and gets it done.
Yeah, that could be true, because the only way he's going to get into these countries is by war, right? He actually has to go to, but he's a friend of Putin, and that's what Putin did. If he sends his soldiers to Greenland to annex them, they'll win. Before I forget, my party's canceled. I had to cancel it. I had some logistical issues. I have to send out. So it's canceled for now. A little bit. It's bittersweet, but I had to cancel the party before I forget. So there will be no party this weekend. Not this weekend, the 25th. So, right. And so, so I'm just letting everybody know that that's not going to happen. I think at this point that Donald Trump needs to stop saying dumb shit. English. Right? Stop. Somebody used it as a diversion, John. Right? Like he's diverting the real things that that's a strategy, right? So it's like me saying to you, Dr. Bryant, give me $300, right? And you're like, oh, I can't give you $300. So they go, how much can you give me? Right? Because I know you weren't going to give me $300. So I really only needed 50, but I went crazy asking for a number just so I could get the number I need. Right? And I think that's what he's doing. Giving you these crazy, ridiculous things, annexing a country, taking a country, and that they're going to willfully bring this country. He's going to willfully bring this country to his knees. John, one of our friends resigned from the police force. Marjorie.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know.
I can hear you.
Marjorie, Chief Marjorie.
What about Marjorie's situation?
Yeah. But let me hear your thoughts.
She's not my friend, so I want to make that clear.
Right.
What are we talking about?
What do you think of the situation that this woman is suing, say that she had to perform sexual favors for him? Quid pro quo. What do you think?
What do I think about it? It's an unfortunate situation. I need to know more facts about it before I can give an informed decision. But if you're looking at it first glance, it's troublesome. But before you start passing judgment on something, you need all the facts before we pass judgment on that. I know Magic personally, and I've dealt with him, but I've never seen that sort of behavior exhibited. And I'm not saying that the woman is lying or whatever it is. That's why I need to hear. I need to hear, and I need to see more of the facts, or the evidence before I can make an informed decision.
Somebody sent me a TikTok piece, and the TikTok piece basically had the guy walking around with his phone, and she had to, with a young lady, brought a young lady home. So he had to do it with the phone. He said, let me hear you say that you're coming into my house willfully. Let me hear you say I could sit next to you. Put it on record. Oh, she's like, what's upstairs? He's like, my bedroom. He said, can we go upstairs? He goes, let me hear you say that on record. And I think, I don't know the full, we immediately passed judgment. I don't know, but I think that's what America has come to, right? That a lot of people are afraid. A lot of people are afraid, because I don't believe that all of these people were raped. That's just me personally. You don't believe what? I don't believe that all of these people were raped. I believe some might have been, but I don't believe all. Like, for me, I feel like if Dr. Bryant and I are having a deep conversation, sweet, beautiful conversation that let the mind goes to an intimate moment. Dr. Bryant agrees to come to my hotel, right? And the mood is right. And boom, all of a sudden, you get charged with rape. And you're sitting there going,
Wait.
You Go ahead, I'm listening.
I first of all, ladies and gentlemen, that would never, ever happen.
Stop that. We're not going to have that kind of relationship.
The allegations that was made against him wasn't talking about only forcefully or whatever. It was stating that some of these interactions took place at work during work time, and then the money that's tied to it is what opened up the door to everything.
You do this for me. You do this sexual act, and you move up the ladder.
Well, $400,000 to be the highest paid individual on the more than the commish, more than everything, it's going to bring up a red flag. Period.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not doing beats or whatever, and you're just working behind the scenes. How much overtime do you do? What type of overtime? I want to know how much overtime it gets you to $200 and something thousand. $200 and something thousand. So there's a lot of questions to ask, and then to fire or get rid of the entire crew that's supposed to be investigating this and things like that. That is something. The entire crew was removed. So it speaks volume. Speaks volume.
Mhm.
And here it is. When you think of everything, I'm just amazed at how this time I'm cautious about when I think about the first female police commissioner. What was her concern? When we think about that, what was her concern, and why did she leave?
Soon.
What was her concern, and why did she leave? And it was tied to him before.
Right. She wanted to reprimand him for certain things.
Okay.
She got part of that, but it's all hearsay, right? Because nobody has admittedly come out and say this is what happened, but it's hearsay that she wanted to reprimand him over certain actions, and she was not allowed to. But again, I'm told that wherever you see smoke, there's fire, right? So I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure but about what's going on, but ultimately, at the end of the day,
it's horrible. It's horrible. People that should be protecting you is causing too much attention to the wrong thing. Represent the police. That's not
to me. Okay, so here's my issue. Here's my issue, right? And it's a thin line, right? It's a thin line. As males, I say to all the time, males, it's unfortunate for us.
And when you are supervising someone,
you
shouldn't be.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you can't win. For males, you can't win no matter what you do. So when I talk about the video that says here, is this okay from the guy? Males need to start doing that, because you can't win. Because no matter what, whether it's a real case or not a real case, you're not going to win. In the public eyes, you get accused of sexual misconduct, you did it. You can't say it was consensual. Males don't win that argument, right? Males don't win that argument that it was consensual. Period. A woman would, but a man does not, right? So at the end of the day, we men have to be tremendously careful about what it is that we are doing and saying. That's what it comes down to. That's what I have to teach my son. I have to teach my son that. And it's a problem in society. You know, I always bring this up, right? That people, like children, get away with stuff. Even when the child knows what he or she is doing, they get away with it. I always give the example of the student who came in, got a video camera, and spat right in the teacher's face. And the boy was going to get a 5-day suspension. That had a teacher done that, he would have been terminated.
Right.
Right? So that boy knew that nothing is going to happen to him.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing.
People,
Here's the thing.
Wait, hold on. So I'm not saying I don't know what happened, right? And I'm not saying that it didn't happen, right? But I didn't hear that he tied her down. I heard that it was inappropriate because you're superior, and she might have felt you're my superior, blah 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 blah, right? But is it because now it became an issue because you brought it to work and everybody knows that the two of y'all were sleeping together? And now people's society is making an issue, and you're like, wow, I felt pressure. I was really consensual because it wasn't a one-time thing. It was ongoing.
Yeah, but here, as a supervisor, common sense would tell you if you are supervising a group of individuals, you got to be very careful, you know, because they might exactly what you just said, exactly what you might say. Hey, you know what, you guys start dating or whatever, and it becomes one way. If they say one thing, you know, pressure is gonna come. Common sense would tell you, do not date who you are supervising or you're responsible for, because anything could be used against you. But you also send a message that if you don't do, here it is. If I decide, hey, we're dating or whatever, and we take classes for that, sexual harassment, if we break up or whatever. But here's the thing, that's also part of classes. If you're dating this person and they decide it doesn't work out or whatever, that's why you don't do it. They actually frown upon that as well, because now it's, hey, I was pressured, I felt pressured, whatever. No, that's part of training too. When you are in certain positions, you're told this already. So he should know better. First of all, he should know better. His decision making was piss poor. Period.
The expression don't take a crap where you eat, right? Because it can get ugly. But once you're the superior, it gets uglier for you. If we're both consenting adults, if we're both, in my mind, if we're both consenting adult, and I didn't force myself on you,
but you supervise. So remember,
that's the point I'm making.
She's a subordinate,
right?
And you're a superior. There's that perception, although it is not true. But there's a perception that it could lead to that. One could interpret that.
Right.
That's why they try to deter you from fraternizing with your colleagues or whatever it is, so you don't have that dynamics that exists.
Right. Yep. You know, a good example of that, like in Little League, baseball, football, and basketball, you have what they call parent coaches. Like you're coaching your own son, your own daughter, right? And people, oh, you play favorites to your son.
There you go.
Right?
There's no way.
What happened now?
There's no way that someone can get away with $200 and something $1,000 and your supervisor don't know or not aware of that amount of overtime. Your supervisor would have to sign off on that. So it's so many different questions, so many different things. It's unfortunate because the role that you have as being the top police commissioner, being the top person, the chief, being the top person, you're looked upon a certain way. Being a priest, you're looked upon a certain way. Being an educator, you're looked upon a certain way. Being the president, you're looked upon. So there is a certain amount of responsibility that you must carry as a leader.
Forum that you have to present
Mhm.
in positions such as that. That can
Mhm.
wield immense power, and to others it can be intimidating. Thus, although it can be intimidating to them that they feel they have to succumb, although you don't express that to them, they may feel that they have to do that in order to keep what they have, or maintain what they have, or get more.
You know,
There you go.
like I said, did it or not, Marjorie.
Poor decision everywhere you look.
But the one thing we guys think with our second head, right? We think with our second head a lot more than we need to think with our first. All right.
Common sense. Because the thing is, when you make decision, here's the thing: when you are making decision, I get it,
It has
but
nothing to do with common sense. Nothing at all.
let me tell you something. When you are making decisions, you really need to consider how is it going to impact others.
But people, you're not thinking that. That's the issue. You might be.
I do.
But many people are just thinking, like for me, I wasn't thinking about how it impacted anything. That's not what I was thinking about.
You were thinking of instant gratification.
Well, it wasn't just instant gratification. It was a different type of gratification, but it was an instant. So at the end of the day, you're like, well, this person is responsible to do something, right? And they're able to do it. But then, and then like you said, and like John said, all of a sudden, right, it doesn't last. And you're not mature enough to say, hey, it's okay. Like I was playing this game called Merge Harbor, right? And in Merge Harbor, this woman was married to this one guy. Then she's friends with another guy that was in love with her, right? And now she meets a new guy, and they're all friends. The reality of this situation is that's not real life. So whether or not this officer willfully and knowingly participated in a relationship, she didn't go to HR
until after she was on the news.
Until after the thing broke loose. Now she's now the victim, right? Why did you go to when you were getting the money, blah, 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 blah. And this is over years. It wasn't even months. It was years. All of a sudden, you were the victim. And that's all I'm saying. You're now the victim. Like you said, she made what, an extra couple $100,000? And now you're the victim.
400,000 in total.
Well, part of it.
No, here's the thing. We are the victims. New York City residents are the victims.
Exactly.
Because guess what? Money have to be paid for attorneys, and guess who's paying for it? Taxpayers. Over time, here's the wasteful spending. MTA,
right,
do the same garbage too.
And that's the point that I'm making. If I approach you as my subordinate and you tell me you're not interested, or you approach me as your superior and I tell you that I'm not interested, and I go to HR after you tell, right? Why didn't you do that? That's where you understand what I'm saying, John? That's where I'm thinking you basically knew what you were doing until, right, your hand got caught in the cookie jar. Now, all of a sudden, boom, it was sexual misconduct.
Well, they're both guilty. I'm sorry.
But
guess what? You know why? You know who the victims, the true victims are? We are.
No, I agree with you with
Just like MTA, we are the victim of MTA. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree. That's who I think both of them should be getting. If it is true, both of them should be getting drugged. Now, I don't think that if it was once and it was forceful, yes. But if it's a repeated action that you both are doing, right? Because he couldn't fire her. He could have transferred her, but he couldn't fire her.
Because his decision making wasn't that right.
No, but what I'm saying is
he couldn't fire her because he was sleeping with her.
What I'm saying,
he was sleeping with her, and no matter what,
that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is she could have stopped the situation.
Okay.
He could have stopped the situation, but now you're crying out there.
It's exhausting. We don't want to hear it. You know, it's unfortunate that
It's an unfortunate situation. You know, the Maggie didn't have to put herself in that position.
Exactly.
And the officer did not have to put herself in that position. If she felt, if she wanted additional time because she was in financial straits, I don't know. I need to, but the first things first, Maggie should have never put herself in that position to this woman at all, because that's just, even if Maggie is found to be clear, but he allowed himself to engage in some sort of relationship with a subordinate that was working for him, that you can't allow that to happen.
Right.
Because of things just such as this.
It's kind of funny when I was in leadership position in school, there were teachers that were coming on to me, right? And I had to step away, right? I had to step away. Trust me, right? Because at the end of the day, you're like, you can't do that.
Tracy wrote, these women have to start valuing themselves more and carrying themselves better and stop sleeping with people's husbands and people in high places for whatever, because in the end, there will be no winner and destruction of their families. Thank you, Tracy, for sharing your thoughts.
I think, Tracy, good point. But I don't know I think stating valuing themselves, right? I don't know that they're undervaluing themselves, right? I don't know if the valuing themselves would be the right word I would use, because I think like people think about gratification, and if you don't, the reason why I don't like to use a term also because what I might value, you might not value. Does that mean that your value is less important than mine? Right? The both of us value different things. It doesn't make you right. I wouldn't say that, but I would say poor decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Poor decision making. A man might sleep with a woman because he has problems at home,
Mm-hmm.
and he can't divorce. And the opposite for the woman as well. Right? Some men, hey, we just want to have a good time and go home. Right? You go to your place, I go to mine. That's it. It doesn't mean that you don't value yourself. Maybe like I use you for example, Dr. Brown.
You keep using me. I don't know why you keep using me in these examples. Find somebody else.
I'm gonna say
it's all right. Go ahead.
You don't want to bring any man to your house. You have kids.
No, I don't bring men to my house.
Right. So that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have relationships. Of course you should have relationships, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't value. You don't value. That's why. That's why I think the word value is strong.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think the word value is strong. What does Tracy write? Go ahead. I think Dr. Bryant, you're bringing it up.
That's Stickle. When someone is sexually aroused, their judgment can become impaired, much like when they are intoxicated. That's true. In such a state, they may not always make the most rational decision.
I will agree with that more than I would say with devaluing oneself.
Thank you, Stickle.
Blame it on the alcohol, huh?
Mayor Adams might be.
Man, have some discipline. Thank you.
Right, that's not true. It's sometimes about what we think we can get away with. I don't know.
Yeah, he did create that song, Jamie Foxx. That is true.
Right. Mayor Adams expects to be hit with more charges. New York City mayor is facing more charges related to alleged misconduct.
To be honest with you.
Wait. Let me finish this, and then you can talk. You can say whatever you want.
What happened, Roger?
No, I'm reading the clip, and then Dr. Bryan had something to say. I said, just let me finish reading it, and then she make her point. The charges stem from the investigation into his campaign financing and possible connection to business interests. These developments come at a time when Adams is navigating various crises in the city, including crime and homelessness. Political observers are weighing how these strategies could affect his reelection. The situation raises questions about the ethics of campaign finances and transparency in political leadership. What are the long-term implications of sitting mayor facing legal charges on local governance? And how should the public figure he could accountable?
You know what? Let me tell you something.
But Dr. Brian had the floor
Talk
first.
about.
John, Dr. Brian has the floor first. You're not going to win this.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doc.
Go ahead, Doc.
You know what? At this point, every time you turn around, is a new charge, is a new this. We don't want to hear no more. Enough is enough. Come on. I'm just like, I'm over it.
Okay,
Like,
but why?
Why? Because it's overkill now. It's overkill. They're saying, hey, they're gonna charge him with extra charges, but they're not gonna say what it is. So what's the sense of opening up their mouth to say anything at all?
A misconduct. Yeah, you hear what Stickler said? Switch to the Republican Party, right? You'll be fine, Adams. I agree with that.
That's true.
John, you were saying something.
It's true.
No, this is the Fed MO. Their objective is always to have a superseding indictment, to add a little bit more controversy, a little more oomph to what they're doing. Also, more so the justification for them to continue to move forward. You know, and it's just sad. You know, that's all I can say. It's just sad. You know, but you just got to keep pushing through it. Keep doing the right thing for the city of New York. Everybody can say what they can say about Donald Trump. You know, the people did not care about these charges. The people did not care. The people were concerned about the migrants. They were concerned about the economy, concerned about the issues. You know, we know the criminal justice system and how it's one slanted towards one population as opposed to another population. But most of all, you know, it just highlights the bias that exists in our criminal justice system. We knew it always existed. But incidents such as this and other things, you know, and what I can say about the President-elect Trump, he was able to put our whole criminal justice system on blast and the way it unfairly treats people of color. We knew that all along, but now, you know, other people have experienced this mistreatment. Now they understand what we've been talking about for decades, for centuries.
You know,
He became the orange man, so he's part of the color crew. Like he said, he could relate to them because he's orange. You know, you have all of that.
Here's my point to this, right? Only a woman with low self-esteem is going to sleep with someone else's husband and not think about how it's going to affect the family structure. I have a family member right now who can't retire because of some trifling woman on his job who insisted on forcing herself on him to ruin his over 30-year marriage and get a child put in child support. Well, I don't know about that, all of that, Tracy. I think
it takes two to tango, right?
I'm gonna say it takes two to tango. Okay, that's your opinion. I feel that the woman has you don't have to have low self-esteem. It could be about arrogance. I want what I want, and I want what I want. I go after what I want, and that's it. It's not about low self-esteem. I want that. Some guys think the same thing, right? Stickler wrote to you, John. I understand, but you have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Adam's issues are all self-inflicted. I guess it kind of goes back to the sexual relationship, right? Like, you did it, right? You put yourself in that situation. I don't know if I agree. What do you mean by putting? It's not my comment. It says, Stickler, what do you mean by that?
What's the comment?
I understand what you're saying, John, but you have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. Correct. Adam's issues are all self-inflicted. I don't know if I agree. I think some of the issues that Adams have is trustworthiness and people abusing some of those things that he was accused of, unbeknownst to him, right? Right. The Chinese woman, I forgot her name. They can't find her, right? I forgot the name. I was watching it out there that they can't find the young lady. They don't know where she is. So I wonder if she's cooperating with the feds. That's usually, generally speaking, when you can't find somebody. And what are you cooperating with the feds about? The one that threw the fundraiser for Adams out there in Queens, Gecko or Greco or something like that. I don't remember her name. So again, in a situation like that, let's say he's guilty of that. He's guilty of that because she offered to do a fundraiser. He's not, you think he's going to sit there and check her background immediately? Right? That she's a spy? Right? You're not even a mayor. How are you going to get access to that information?
Well, you could get access to anything.
Not
As the mayor.
No, as the mayor, you might get access to it, but he wasn't the mayor. If I offered to do a fundraiser for Eric Adams, which I did do, right? And he comes out and does a fundraiser for me, and we know each other. You think he's going to check my background to know about the fundraiser? No. So all of a sudden, I'm a drug kingpin, right? All of a sudden, Eric Adams and Roger Daley are in cahoots because Roger Daley is a drug kingpin. I go back to the guy that killed James Davis, John. James Davis had no clue that this guy was walking with a gun to kill him. So at the end of the day, you have a relationship with somebody. You don't know everything about that person.
That's so true.
Right? So all of a sudden you're blamed for a lot of these things that you had no control over. And that to me is like a witch hunt for a lot of that. Right? Although I was reading an article this week that John, he has a slim pathway to victory in the primaries, right? You think he's going to make it a second term, John? Well, let's not ask that question like that. Let's ask the question of easy or hard.
I mean, of course, it's difficult. Anytime you got a criminal, you have a criminal investigation over your head. It added more weight to your chances of trying to win the primary. I mean, that's the elephant in the room. It's not impossible, but it's just that much more harder. People are concerned about education, economics, being able to feed your family, and being safe. You know, my thing is you can deal with all those issues and make me, despite what you're going through, despite what you're going through, if you still can handle those 4 issues, it just shows you the type of character, the type of person who you are, to deal with all this adversity and still being able to produce. That's the bottom line. I mean, everybody can say they can do better until they get into the position and they realize what's coming at them. With the migrants, I'm never all of them like, oh, welcome the migrants. But then the migrants, a financial strain on the city. Yeah. And you got to think, but one thing I can say about this man, and he's a very good dear friend of mine, is that economically he has really kept the city of New York not only on a balance, but also having certain surpluses. So
that's because he's
economic, and also
he's making.
If you look at his MWB program, and the number of minority-owned businesses have been able to get a piece of the pie. It was just interesting. We all know one negative thing can outweigh everything that you have done. You just got to keep pushing through.
There's something I was about to say, and I forgot. I think when the migrant issue, when he opened the floodgates to let the migrant in, I didn't think no one expected.
No one did.
No one expected the backlash, the outgoing thing. Benev, I haven't heard from you. Are you still on? What do you think the chances, Brutus, of him being reelected? And what are some of your thoughts out there? The number of you online right now. What are your chances? Think he's going to get reelected? I saw that Brad Lander is his top opponent right now.
So you got Brad Land. You got quite a few people. You had former Scott Stringer, Brad Land.
I don't think Scott.
Zelma Myrie.
I don't think Scott Stringer is going to go anywhere. I think Scott Stringer's time is up, right? I think if anything, it would be Brad Lander. Zelma Myrie, I don't believe that he's going to go that far either. Reason being, he's Brooklyn. He's not citywide, right? Things like that. Leonard, are you saying no? What are you saying no to? You just said no. What does Benev says? Benev says Eric Adams needs to leave. That would probably be this best option for him.
But you know what's funny, Roger? It always seems that people of color, why do we always get one term? Nobody don't talk about the prior administration and all the money that, kind of vanished.
Because nobody kills us better than ourselves. We kill our own people. I don't believe he's going to get reelected. Okay. Why are you, Rudy? Don't you see that non-U.S. citizens, Obama was the only friend Trump had today? Rudy, don't you see that no U.S. citizen? I'm missing something in there, Tracy. Was the only friend Trump had today. Obama was the only friend he had today. But what do you mean by U.S. citizen? Right? But I didn't understand the first part, Tracy. Benev, you're stating Eric Adams needs to leave off. Why? Why should he leave? I don't get that. He leaves because of what? Right? He hasn't been found guilty of anything. See, that's where I have the problem, right? We have a tendency to remove individuals, right? We have a tendency to remove individuals at the onset without real information. How is he doing at his job? That's the question. Is he doing a good job as mayor? That's the only. I mean, all of these extemporaneous things is kind of like Trump saying, "I'm going to get Canada. I'm going to annex Canada. I'm going to annex Greenland." We make fun that they're going to be the first 52nd state, changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America or something. But these are just distractions. How is he doing as the mayor? That's where the question comes in. And I think he did mess up on the migrants. I agree with you. Tracy was referring to Trump's classification of Obama as a non-citizen. Okay. Let me see this. A lot of New Yorkers blame him for some of the migrant issues that we have right now. And that seems to be the major problem in America at this point. But it's not Adams. Adams only agreed to accept, because the migrants come to the United States was a federal issue, not a New York City local issue. And we are a sanctuary state because we protect all of our citizens, right? That's what it means. We protect all of our citizens. Now, because you're not a migrant anymore, you're a legal United States citizen. I'm good. I don't want you to be good. Right? That's part of the issue. But I think, like I said, and John and Joanne can chime in, he went over his head. Let me just read some of these comments and everybody can chime in. I read that one already. Right. I knew you meant the migrants, Leonard. Eric Adams is arguably one of the worst mayors New York has ever had. Interesting. Benev, you're doing a Trump, right? explain why is he the worst mayor, right? I see Leonard talk about the immigrants. What did Tracy write? Tracy said Trump said Obama was a U.S. citizen and hates him, but today the only person who didn't give him an attitude was Obama. Interesting. Okay. They are not citizens. You're right. They're not. Right. Mr. B cut his eyes throughout the whole service. Mr. B? Who's Mr. B? Right? Are you saying that Biden? Who's Mr. B? In retrospect, that was a great move by Texas, Florida, of busting the migrants. It did shine a light on a lot of issues facing border states and I will throw in the border safety. Right. So all of these major cities, Chicago, New York, Detroit, San Francisco, Miami, Florida, they had major issues with the migrants, right? But that's where they sent Dr. Bryant, Joanne, and Dr. Sampson. What are your thoughts? Let's start with Dr. Sampson. Dr. Bryant first.
Well, one thing is, to any mayor out there, to any governor out there, if another state is having issues with migrant, yes, you understand, you can sympathize, but do not say, send them over. Do not open up your mouth to say, send them over, or any of the sort. Because guess what? They're going to listen to what you asked for and give you exactly what, even if it was just being sarcastic or whatever, we'll take them or whatever. Then when you actually see what you just said, it's too late. So be careful how you use your words, ladies and gentlemen. Be careful how you play around. If you want to be sarcastic or whatever, if you want to go toe to toe, whatever, just be careful with your languages, because sometimes what you might not mean or whatever, you don't know how it lands on people and how others take it. So now, unfortunately, when it landed, it's stuck. And then we were stuck with that. So it's definitely a learning lesson to all those in just to everyone. It's a life lesson. Be careful what you ask for, because you might get what you want.
John, before you speak, Tracy wrote, Eric is not the worst mayor. That's in response to Benab. He's just too damn bossy and refused to listen to us and sit at the table with us. Who's us, by the way, Tracy? Who's us? John, your comment.
I think, Doc, you have to deal with the hands you were dealt. He was dealt the hand. Everybody wanted to back in the day. Everybody wanted to be safe in the city. Everybody said, "Oh, the immigrants." But at that point in time, they weren't coming to their city. All those elected officials, all of the sanctuary cities, let them come in or whatever it is, because they were not coming in. The governor of Texas did a great thing. He said, if I have to bear all this responsibility, let me see how you feel. And it goes back to the federal government, because they failed to deal with the issue of immigration over and over and over. And they kick it down the road. They kick the can down the road. He dealt with it the best he can. Everybody else, they're complaining about it, but he dealt with it the best way he could. At the same time, New York City's not in a deficit with respect to our finances. We have a surplus. We were able to, those cuts that we were able to make because of the additional revenue, we was able to restore those cuts. So like you said, everybody looks at all the noise. Stop looking at all the noise and look at what has actually happened and the issues. Let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about New York City economy. Has any of our taxes risen? Did he raise anybody's taxes?
Good point.
Despite what's going on with the migrants, did anybody's taxes get raised? We still, our police force is almost at the number it was before.
The job market.
Everybody talks about crime and,
the job market in New York is great.
Something else. You got the bail reform laws. We need to stop pointing fingers saying this person is the worst. This person. Give me solutions. Recommend a solution that we can resolve these things. Stop complaining. We're great as complaining and not problem solving. Let's solve the problem. Of course, can the mayor be more open and listen to people? Of course. but our people need to be more, we have to be more involved. We can't be, we're not spectators sitting on the sidelines. We have to be involved in our communities. Everybody complains about congestion pricing. It was our local elected officials that voted for it. So if you were more involved on the local level, you wouldn't have congestion pricing.
Yeah, I agree. Nor would you have speed cameras. I was
So
thinking Rita Joseph is the person who made the speed cameras 24 hours a day. And they signed off on it because they saw an opportunity for revenue. And they always give the conversation about people getting hit by a car and saving lives. People, people abuse the system no matter what. But I do agree. You know what? I'm going to agree with Tracy about he got rich and switch. He did forget about some of the little people that got him there. I would, and some of the little people feel slighted. That's one of the issues that when she said that he's bossy, right? That he's bossy. That's an issue. I know we're off topic, but I agree with Tracy. If you do something once, it's a lapse in judgment. If you continue acting on what you know is wrong, you're devaluing yourself. Why do you believe, again, I guess it goes back to the ladies, why do you think they think that they're devaluing themselves?
Well, that's going to be for part 2, which is next week. I just want to say, please keep the people in California in your prayers.
Yes.
Because I have family members out there that actually had to leave where they're at in order to escape. Friends, yeah. So it's real. It's real. It's real. Do not take things for granted. Cherish those around you because life is not promised to you. And each day thank God we saw 2025, but look at the people last week. They saw 2025 and a couple hours later, they were dead. So please, please, please hug, love up on your family and friends. Do that. And you know what? It's even better. Go out, laugh. So if you're not doing something, go out and laugh, have fun. So one thing I could tell you, there is a show tomorrow, comedy shows for all our comedy friends. Come on out to the Brooklyn Children Museum tomorrow. Come on out and laugh and love up on some of your friends as well. So tomorrow, 7. Roderick, unfortunately, you're in the hospital. But John and Andre and Sophia, if you want to come out and have a good time at the Brooklyn Children Museum at 7, come on out and join me and some of my friends like Carrie so that we can laugh and have some good time, but also keep our family and friends in Cali in your prayers. So 7 p.m. If our listeners want to come out and have a good time, come on out.
Right.
That's my little plug.
I want to wish a couple of happy birthdays. One to my sister-in-law, who celebrated her birthday.
Happy birthday.
Monday, Aliyah. So happy birthday. Happy birthday to my good friend Kamika out there in Jamaica, whose birthday was the 6th. And also congratulations to my pending student on her upcoming nuptials, which is coming up in a little bit, in a few days. I think one of our, I'm trying to figure out a couple other birthdays, but just by the same, I just say like big up to all of our listeners, all of our villagers. John, do you have anything before I finish up?
Hey, Jalen.
Just want to thank you all villagers for listening to us at the village here, and we look forward to continue to bring you insight on just the things that really impact our listeners on a day-to-day basis. Once again, thanks again for all your support, and happy and healthy New Year.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. More likes, more subscription. It helps the show to expand. Thank you for watching, viewing, participating. And I know some of you are sharing, so we continue sharing. I love the fact that you guys participated. Thank you, villagers, for that. Where we're dedicated to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life through education, helping each one of us in realizing our dreams at any age, at any point. So, ladies and gentlemen, success is not just spoken, it is done. God bless you, and God's willing, we'll see you next week. And like I said, I did cancel the party. So all of you, you'll get a letter, a notification from me. So it's a reminder that we're not having a party this year. I did a poor job of organization starting it early, so I need to do that a little bit earlier next year. But God's willing, I'm going to do one. God bless. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend.
Be safe. Bye
Be
bye.
safe.
Bye, Jalen. Love you.
All right. Thank you.